Hey, we are live. I think we're rolling. I think you can hear me. Hopefully, people in the chat will let me know what's up, everyone. I've been talking like a chatterbox today. I had a long form interview with my buddy Carl, and then my other friend, Matt Giovanisi, asked me to join him and talk about the keyword golden ratio on his channel. So it's actually been a very talkative day for me. In this live stream, we're going to change gears just a little bit, and do give me a shout in the chat. Say hello. Would love to hear from everyone. Let me know where you're at. You can tell from the headline, which is a $200,000 site in 2 years. This is an affiliate marketing and display ad play, along with some other affiliate earnings that are coming in, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to play the clip. This is a student of mine named Christy. She's been on the channel several times in the past. And we dive into a lot of the details on those other interviews. So you can track back when she was earning $100 a month for the first time, $1,000 a month for the first time, and so on. I use the calculation of $200,000, right? So that's 500, that is $5,000 per month times a monthly multiple of 40. 40 is a little bit generous, but here is why. It's diverse revenue streams. So part of it's Amazon affiliate, some other affiliate programs as well. And then another big chunk is display ads. I think there could be another component in there as well. There's multiple traffic sources. Most of it's from Google, but there are some other social channels that are picking up as well. There has been no weird link building. It's all white hat, not just like kind of guest posting. This is like very, very high touch relationship building. So she has some excellent links going to her site. And then the other thing is Christy has like some skills in branding. She came from a marketing background, and the site is branded in a beautiful way. So it looks really nice. It's very brandable. I mean, she could even do physical products in the future. So I'm going to roll this clip, and it's going to take, it's going to take a little while, and you're going to hear some of the details. Now, the cool part is Christy's going to be sort of documenting her journey to hopefully double the revenue in this calendar year. And we're taking some different approaches. So we talk about that as well. Now, I've rambled on a little while, and I'm just going to kick it over to the clip because that's what you're here for. You don't want me to keep rambling on. So let's roll the clip with Christy, and we'll answer questions after that. So the people that are just joining in, Christy is a student of mine. She had $5,000 per month. Her site is roughly worth $200,000 if she were to sell it. She has no plans to do so, but you can follow along with her journey, and here's her latest update from just a couple weeks ago. Hey, Christy, how's it going? We're going to get an update from you, and how's the new year treating you?
Hey, Doug. Pretty good. Got some big plans, so hopefully this year will go to plan.
Awesome. Well, congratulations are in order. You hit a milestone recently in December of 2020. So we're just going to come right out with it. What was your highest income, and what was the latest month of income here?
So December, I was able to get to 5,000 for the month, which was a new milestone. I think my highest until that point was like 3,700, which was in November. So it was definitely a big uptick for holiday traffic, but I also think, some of my articles and things like that have just been baking longer now.
Awesome. Well, and speaking of baking longer and the origin of your site, can you just tell us a little bit about that? When did you start it? How long did it take to reach, say over $1,000 a month, and some of those other milestones?
Sure. I started the site almost exactly 2 years ago. A bit of a slow start, obviously, trying to get content up and running. So the first couple of months, I was seeing incomes like $20, $100 total. But it was enough for me to say, okay, this still could work. So I hit $1,000 for the first time in the summer of 2019.
Okay. And then over the next year, a lot of stuff happened. So you obviously published a lot of content. Can you kind of give us a overview of how much content is on the site and, a couple of the other things that you have going on with the site?
Sure. I currently have about 350 posts, give or take. Of those, some are divided into other categories. Like I have some podcasting vlog type resources. So I don't really count those in the 350, but about 350 pieces of content for now. And then on the site to generate income as far as sources go, I do Amazon, of course. And I also do Mediavine for ads, which has been really nice. I really like them. I don't love how ads look on the site, obviously, but it is a good source of income and it's good to diversify. So have that. And those are my two big earners, as well as a couple of smaller affiliate programs.
Very cool. And what's the split between like Amazon and say Mediavine? Because those are the kind of lion's share, right?
Yep. They're almost 50-50.
Awesome. And then, of course, we all experienced the Amazon commission rate change in April. So, number one, when you got that email, what were you thinking? Were you really
Displeased.
annoyed? Yeah.
I thought it was pretty tone deaf for 2020. So I guess I wasn't really worried. For me, it is what it is. But just as a company, I thought it was a really poor decision and really poor timing to take money out of people's pockets. So,
yeah. And luckily, you had a lot of other revenue coming in from Mediavine. You were already diversifying, which is a good thing to do, having those multiple income sources. So one thing, I don't want to jump ahead too much here, but I mean, you're looking to add some other income sources, right? So we are
correct.
aiming to do a lot more. Can you kind of walk us through the goals and kind of your ideas for 2021?
Sure. I have big goals. So now that I've seen that the site can work, and now that I've done it for 2 years and I still enjoy working on it, which is a big deal, I want to double it in 2021. So that's my blanket goal, is I want double the traffic and or double the income. If I need double the traffic to get it, then fine. If I don't, great. But I do want to double the income. What that'll basically do, from my life perspective, is essentially replace the salary that I've been making at my other company, which I run for myself. So it's replacing my own salary. But that to me is a really good illustration. If I can hit that milestone of, making what I make otherwise from the site, then that says to me, this is worth me working on full time. So 2021 is really the year of, I want to see if I can work on this pretty much full time and see if I can really just double it. So some of the things we want to get into this year, I haven't done before, which are like downloadable info products or courses of various sizes. That's all stuff that would be from scratch for me.
And I know a lot of times I recommend to people, just add more content, build more links, just keep on doing what you're doing. Because you came to me like, hey, Doug, I want to work together on this stuff and I want to double my income, basically. Did you think I was going to say, hey, just keep doing the same thing? Or what did you think I was going to say? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I would say until about late November, when I reached out to you, my game plan was literally just double the content. So if it's making this amount of money with this amount of content, double the content, double the money. Pretty simplistic approach, I guess you could say. So I had planned, I'm willing to invest. In my mind, I just did those numbers back and it was like, okay, well, I can invest what it would cost to work with the group of writers I already have that I already trust, who know my niche, and double the content. So I'm willing to put that much money into the site. And then I thought, well, maybe I should just ask Doug in case that's not the best way. I mean, I think it would still get it done, but maybe it's not the best way. So then I reached out and basically said, hey, here's kind of what I'm thinking about. I could just throw a bunch of money at it, but I also have a lot more time this year that I plan to spend on it. So is there a better way that I should be using that time that maybe isn't just throwing money at new content? And so we came up with quite a big list of other things I could be doing.
Well, luckily, you're very smart and ambitious, and you came up with a list and then you just brought it to me. So I did very little,
I
luckily.
know, but I was going to give you part of the credit.
Well, the most important part is like pruning the list, and that's what I did.
Right. Right.
So, and we're going to be tracking this over the next year, probably more. On a monthly basis, we'll get some updates from Christy. You're going to be blogging for me at Niche Site Project to help people follow along. But you summarized it pretty well. We're going to take a different approach in that we're aiming for your own products to be sold, not trying to just double it, which, I mean, technically, right? We literally just had one of our meetings earlier before we started recording. And I think you probably could double your revenue with the smaller amount of content that you're adding. But I think you have a big opportunity to add a lot more income and grow the brand a lot more because of the way you positioned yourself over the past couple of years. And yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. Selling your own products really seems to be the way to go, whether it's physical products or digital products. You just have so much more control, and you have the ability to, cut out the other people
Right.
that are, taking a slice. So if you're working with Amazon, like, they can continue to make the slice smaller. You have other affiliate programs, that's great, but
Right.
the volume isn't as high. And if you can reach your customers directly, like, that's the way to go. So,
Well, and you were good about, basically explaining that I don't need the types of conversion rates I have now. Like, I don't need that amount of traffic to get the same amount of money necessarily, because, obviously if I cut out a 1% commission instead of, me making 100% on something, even if it's $15, that's still a lot of clicks I don't need to be sending somewhere else. Or maybe I could lower the ad density on my site so the user experience is better. Like, that all is things that I would like to do. I want people to enjoy being there. It's not just how much money can I make off of it? Like, I want it to be something that exists for 20, 30 years. So I'm willing to kind of put the time in this year and really see if I can build some of those longer term revenue sources that are going to help, but also be useful to people.
So everyone should stay tuned for, more updates in the future. Before we finish this up, I want to give people a little bit of a baseline of like what was going on in 2020. So do you have the total revenue brought in and maybe like the total traffic or average traffic per month, a little bit of that analytical data?
Yeah. So for the year, I can say that, towards the end, I was trending towards about 60,000 visitors a month. Let me do a quick calculation here. So for the year, I had about 600,000 visitors. So for 2020 for the year. And then as far as income went, the site has made in 2 years about $50,000. And of that, over 35,000 was from 2020. So growth wise, I love where it's going. It's slow, steady growth, which is kind of what I expected. I'm not really into the shortcut kind of stuff, but the fact that it made significantly more in its second year was a big deal.
Okay, very good. And I'm going to pause just for a second. Were there any big things or interesting projects that you worked on in 2020?
So 2020 for me was a lot of doing what was already working, right? So I kept adding content, I kept doing outreach, link building, all that good stuff. There were two things that I did that were new. for 2020, one of which was acquiring my first blog. So that was kind of a fun project. I actually acquired a small blog within my same niche, and it was about 50 posts, I think, real small. Not really SEO optimized, but bought some decent content and then decided to bring it over to my site, polish it up quite a bit, and then just give it time to bake. So that happened, which is cool. And I would actually think about making a few more small acquisitions in 2021. So I've got a list of target websites that I would think about reaching out to. And then the second thing that I did, which was new, was start basically a diversity effort to make sure that our site was showing the diversity of our industry, give or take. So I wanted to make sure that like our imagery was diverse, that our voices were diverse. Obviously, that was getting a lot of attention in 2020 and for good reason. And even though I just have a small niche site, I want to make sure we're doing the best of it that we can. I'm a white girl. I obviously am not the most diverse person that, is going to be in pictures and is going to be writing. And I have my own backstory, and that's what I can offer. But there's a whole lot more out there that we could be saying and showing, and I want to be doing that. So we started an outreach program that's really just a lot of manual outreach to people who are influencers, doing great work, spreading a lot of positive energy and joy and hope in our niche. And we've been reaching out to them and asking them to, share their voice on the site, share their imagery on the site. And I just love doing that. If it never, adds to our income, I don't care. That's not what it's about. I want the site to be the best it can be. And so that's something we're going to keep doing 2021 and beyond.
Very cool. With the site acquisition, did you see any, positive results right off the bat, or did it work out how you expected?
It did work out how I expected. I didn't plan on the content to be super SEO rich, right? This was from a site that wasn't making any money, basically. So for me, it was more adding, probably 30,000 words of content that gave me more space for ads. So that works even if it's not a huge SEO generator. And then working to slowly implement more FAQs into each of those posts. So it's really about content improvement, which is going to take a little while. So didn't see any major bumps, but didn't expect to either. That's not the kind of site I bought.
Are you able to look at the analytics in a specific report for just those URLs so you can see the traffic that's coming in for those
I'm sure
URLs?
I could. I haven't. I should.
Yeah, let's work on that for the next
Yeah,
update. I'd like to see that.
sure.
So, all right, cool. And then any other interesting stuff, especially that diversity program sounds awesome. So, anything unexpected come up with that, or are you still, just
Well,
trucking along?
it's been really cool to have a good reason to connect with some of the folks that are doing really nice, interesting things in our niche. So we've made a lot of connections that I think are going to be, really fruitful for years. We got last week someone to agree to do a video for us. And he is really big deal in our niche. So yeah, it's been really cool. It's super manual, right? So it's literally reaching out to people. There's no shortcuts for it, right? It's building the relationships and doing all of that. But the return is that you get relationships with really cool people. And sometimes they help you out, and sometimes you can, help more people find them, and it's good for everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, you can't go out thinking this is going to work out perfectly and you're going to make those big connections and get something out of it right away. But, you were working on it for several months before anything
Yeah,
like this happened, right? And it's taking quite a lot of
8 months
time.
probably.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, it could be for years to come, the relationships will pay off. And we are talking about selling products, and a piece of the puzzle will be like using those relationships to, I mean, it'll be a win-win situation if we could set up like an affiliate relationship so people can sell your products. I mean, it helps them, it helps you, obviously, and everybody wins. So,
And there's when I get into the nice to have versus the need to have projects for the year, some of the nice to haves are ways that I can sort of bundle up those conversations and those influencers' advice into, maybe it's an ebook, maybe it's, a physical product, but maybe it's some way that we can put something out into the world that really lifts up all of those voices. So that's on the wish list once I get some of these, low hanging fruit things up and running for the year.
awesome. Well, I think that's it from me. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I'm excited to keep coaching with you this year and share the results. It gives me a lot of accountability to get things done.
I'm excited too. Looking forward to it, and everybody look out for some updates. All right, that was Christy, and a couple people realized, hey, this is a replay, this is not live. So a couple things. I am experimenting playing clips on here. It does make it a little bit easier to do a full live stream, and there's a little more structure to it. So I'm testing it out, and I'd love to know what you think about this format. Additionally, I have a podcast too. So I think Jeanette mentioned that you heard this on the podcast. That's 100% correct. I played it last week, and some of my content was a little bit out of sync. And I was like, you know what? I know today's going to be busy. It'll be easier for me to play the clip here. And I haven't published it on YouTube yet. So Jeanette, I know you actually sent me an email, and I need to get back to you. So I do appreciate that, and I will get back to you pretty soon. So we'll answer some questions. Before we get to that part of it, we need to thank a sponsor, which is Ezoic and their Site Speed Accelerator. It makes these live streams possible. It makes my podcast possible. So it does cost a little bit of money to produce these, and it of course takes my time. And Ezoic and their Site Speed Accelerator will help your site load faster. It's compatible no matter what CMS you're using. So even if you're not using WordPress, you could check out the Site Speed Accelerator. They guarantee an 80 or higher on the Google Page Speed Insights score. And I'm going to talk about page speed and stuff here. We're going to go on a huge tangent. I just had a little bit of coffee. I usually don't have coffee this late in the day, but we're doing it today just because I had a little bit left over. Basically, I didn't drink it all earlier. So I'm working on niche site project. I'm embarking on a content audit. I won't go on too much about that because there's a podcast episode on it tomorrow, but I'm reviewing all the content. It's highly likely I'm going to delete a pretty huge portion of it. Just get rid of it, 301, redirect it, let it go 404, that sort of thing. And one thing that I'm going to audit as well is my email responder and how I'm collecting emails. So I'm currently using Opt-in Monster, which is very effective to build your email list, but it slows down my site quite a bit. There's a ton of extra requests. There's a ton of extra stuff going on. I've tried to optimize it. I've been using it for several years, so I think maybe there's some legacy pieces in there that are not as lean, but I'm basically going old school. I'm going to put an email form in the short term, and then I'm probably going to either custom code my own pop-up or have someone do it. So some of the easy functionality isn't too hard to code, and I may just keep it simple and know that instead of having to pay hundreds of dollars per year for Opt-in Monster to slow down my site just so I can collect email addresses, I'm going to come up with a solution that's just perfect for me and my site, and probably not going to sell it anywhere. It's going to be a simple solution just to do that. And I'm pretty sure my site's going to load even faster. So if you want your site to load faster too, you can observe what I'm doing over at Niche Site Project, but also check out that Site Speed Accelerator. There's a 7-day free trial, so there's no reason not to check it out. So thank you to Ezoic. I'm going to hop in and answer a bunch of questions. I see many of them were coming through here, so a little behind. Let's switch cameras here. And I'll try to catch up as well. So I'm gonna hit everything. I do want to thank the crew over at Niche Website Builders for sponsoring the Q&A segment. All right. Gabrielle says, or Gabriel, I'm not sure which one, you were watching me over at Money Lab Live, which is awesome. That's my friend Matt Giovanisi. So really cool to collaborate with him. And hopefully I'll be on his show more often. So if you have a chance, if you didn't watch that, if you weren't, on Matt's channel, hop over there, have a look, leave a comment, let him know that you enjoyed having me on his show. Dan's on. Dave, what's up? Always Maxon, of course. We got Bo from Waves and Websites. And okay, now we're getting into the questions. Someone asked what the niche is for Christy's site. So we don't share it. We don't share it. It's confidential to protect her and her site. Tortoise Cashflow says, I'm 1 year in with my sites and it's worth 25,000. What was your site worth at the 1 year mark? So I referred back to a chart that Christy sent me. So I think after about 1 year, she was at roughly $2,000, $2,500 per month or so. The cool thing with Christy's site, and I wanted to demonstrate this a little bit in the conversation, there's not been any hockey stick growth. There's not been any huge leap. It's been just slow growth. It'll kind of flatten out. It'll start growing a little bit more. She's had no negative impacts from any of the algorithm updates. The keyword golden ratio was kind of instrumental in getting a start, and she's been able to rank for much higher search volume keywords at this point in time, which is fantastic. It's really great. After some time, you're out of the sandbox, you're ranking for other content, and you're going to rank for the short tail keywords as well. So her site, roughly, if we're doing sort of the same kind of math, we'll say, 2,500. So 2,500, we'll multiply it by 3. So roughly 75,000. Roughly 75,000 after a year. And I can put the little chat messages on the screen. So we can do that. Where are we at? Oh, here we go. We got something car booking. For keyword research, I use Hrefs. You found keywords with low KGR. However, Hrefs difficulty says their difficulty was over 35. And some have 1 to 2 difficulty score. So I haven't found that the Hrefs keyword difficulty is very accurate for me. I think they even have some content about how it may not be accurate for you and some things to look out for. So check out the stuff that they've published on it. And if you wanted to prioritize your keywords, then go after the ones that have the lower Hrefs difficulty score first, and then you can get to the other ones later. Remember this, everyone. Always Google the keyword before you say, yeah, this is a great keyword. See what happens, right? See what's out there. You may see all YouTube videos. You may see all e-commerce sites. So take a look and see what you're dealing with. And shout out to Adrian as a moderator and David as well. All right. And as we keep going here, getting through the chat. Oh, and just want to point this out. So KB Loves Karma, we see here digital products plus email and then ads and affiliates. So yeah, the cool thing with this sort of business model here is, we're doing things a little bit different. Yeah, sure. Traditionally, we just say publish more content, get more backlinks, do more of what you're doing. But there's obviously a huge opportunity to create your own brand. That's one of the things that Christy has been so good at. She has strong branding skills, and it's something that she's interested in, right? It's a niche that she's a part of. So in this case, I was like, you know what? Number one, it'll be boring to just do the same thing and just keep publishing more content. You maybe can earn not just an incrementally amount more, but you can earn a lot more by selling your own products and have other people be affiliates for you. So that is kind of the idea with Christy's case study. And we're going to be, she'll be blogging about it. She's going to be back on the show multiple times this year, following along with what's going on. Alrighty, so boom, this is great to see here. Michelle says, I rewrote and redirected 47 posts from a small site in June to my site with 120 posts, and the traffic doubled in 6 months. Very cool. I am sort of in the process of doing some of that with another site. I've acquired a site, so that is really helpful. You can add a lot of content really quick. It's amazing that you doubled your traffic though, because obviously you're adding just a fraction of the overall number of posts that you had. So pretty cool that you saw that big of a jump. All right. All right, this is a good tip here. Tortoise Cashflow says, you may want to have the face cam during the clips or some way that we know what's going on. So truth be told, somehow I got accidentally double booked today. So I wasn't planning on doing as much stuff today in the order. So funny enough, I ate lunch during that clip. So it was very helpful for me not to be here. It would have been funny if I was eating in the little clip there. Paul asks, I started in a case study in 2019. You do remember, right, Paul? Any update on it? Check out the podcast. I recorded an episode where I talked about it not too long ago. The case study you're talking about is the age site case study, where I bought an age site and my plan was to hire every piece of work that needed to be done. And that's what I did. I think I invested roughly $14,000, $15,000, including the site and content and that sort of thing, a few links here and there. And I did a ton of work from roughly August to October of 2019. It worked out really well for a period of time where I was basically not working and I was off the grid. I was on vacation. I was on vacation for like 6 weeks on a road trip, and a ton of work was done, and then sort of wrapped things up in October. And October, November, I kind of lost my momentum with a case study. It was continuing to grow all the way until April of 2020. And then the May algorithm update hit and traffic dropped, I think, by like half. So it was at some point ranking for a handful of fairly commercial keywords and making about $100 a month. I think maybe in March or April, it was maybe close to 200. I can't remember. And I haven't done any more work on it since like November of 2019. So it's sort of just sitting there, not doing much. And the thing that I talk about in the podcast is I sort of, I lost steam. I was doing a pretty good job documenting it. And I kind of screwed up the way I was marketing it. I was really hoping I could partner with some of the companies that I was featuring. And it didn't work out very well, just overall. No one else was cross-promoting, and it ended up being just me covering the case study. So it didn't gain the momentum that I was hoping. Now, the thing I realized was people love case studies. You guys and gals love case studies. I got so many questions about it. And I think, one of the cool things about that case study was it was like, hey, I'm going to outsource this whole process here. So from a content standpoint, it would have been really good for me to keep with it because I can keep recommending the companies that I was working with. So some of those relationships sort of dwindled and I wasn't happy with some of the work that was done, that sort of thing. So lost interest, got busy doing other stuff, and then I didn't follow through. I did learn that people like case studies. So this year, one of the reasons why, Christy actually came up with the idea, she was like, hey, like maybe we can do this thing and we can document the whole thing. I thought that's great. And then I started realizing, oh, I have a platform where potentially people would want to share their story and it would be helpful for them and it would be helpful for me because I could share their content and people would follow along. Perhaps I can add value in some capacity, like I'm coaching Christy, of course, but then Charlie, who is, I can't remember his passive priority. I can't remember his YouTube channel, but I interviewed him yesterday. He's going to be doing a huge case study. He's going to be documenting this over on Niche Site Project as well. Same thing with Gaurav, who I just published his update. Both really popular guests. People want to hear the stories. Charlie and Christy and Gaurav, all smart, and they have something to share. And it's, from the lazy part of me, I'm like, oh, if other people are doing the writing on the case studies, I can serve more as an editor and get out of the weeds a little bit, which I appreciate. Long answer to a simple question. David says, she mentioned podcast pages. Does she have a podcast in the niche or is she linking to other people's podcasts? Linking to other people's podcasts. I have encouraged her to, hey, check out maybe podcasting, maybe YouTube, but it looks like, she's a writer. Christy's a writer for her background overall. So yeah. Oh yeah. Passive priority. Sorry, Charlie. I just skipped my mind here. Well, like we were talking, I did an interview, Charlie and I were catching up yesterday and I was just off. I did a few interviews yesterday and I was off for the whole day. I think my questions were okay, but I was like misspeaking. So yeah, my mind is all over the place. Next, Ahmed, what's up, buddy? What do you recommend for beginners, physical products or digital products? It will depend on your skill level. So if you have any background in manufacturing, supply chain, retail, any sort of thing that is related to physical products, do that. If you have no related skills or experience in physical products or digital products or marketing in general, I would guide you to aim towards the digital products. They're probably going to be a little bit easier to just sell in general. And the thing is, the big thing is like if you have physical products, you are holding inventory. So you could go the drop ship route. You can have like a couple of different options and like basically, yeah, with digital products, it's a little bit lower cost to entry. There could be, a little bit more competition because of that. But if you carve out your area, you should be okay. Look at me, for example. Zeroth says, Spencer Hawes released an interview earlier today with site audit theme. Audit seems to take a lot of work and time, several years for his guest from Get Rich Slowly, but then again, they had 5,000 posts. Yep. And I think Spencer probably, I can't remember when or what piece of content. It could have been on his blog, could have been a podcast, but he went through an audit process as well and was able to, really get a lot more traffic. And yes, it is a lot of work. The podcast is coming out tomorrow for Doug's show. If people aren't subscribed, there's probably a link in the description. It's Doug.show. Basically, I'm going to be starting and really focusing on auditing my site. It's going to take a very long time. There's a few different pieces of the puzzle and a couple pieces of that puzzle. They're going to be pretty quick. It's fairly straightforward. The meaty part of this whole process is going to take a very long time. it should be kind of fun, kind of interesting. And I've heard very good things from essentially everyone that I've ever talked to about doing a content audit and getting rid of stuff and deleting things, redirecting, and just making things lean, getting rid of the fat. They've said huge sort of results always happen. And I've done little pieces here and there, and I haven't been able to do like the full audit like I'm going to be doing. So I am hopeful I'll see some cool stuff as far as analytics and just have a little bit more traffic, a little more focus on the site as well. Cheesecake says, which type of website is easier, hobby site or other types? Well, probably I would say the hobby site is maybe a little easier because you're going to have some interest in the topic, hopefully. And the other types kind of leaves it wide open. So it could be a drop shipping site, it could be e-commerce, it could be a forum, it could be a, like a podcast, really. You can kind of do anything. You could publish informational content, you could publish reviews on certain things. So which is easier? It depends. You can make almost anything that you're doing really difficult, or you can make it easy. So I would encourage you, whichever you choose, probably try to make it easier for yourself. It's very, very tempting to complicate things. So don't do that. Don't complicate things. They're complicated enough on their own. All right. Oh, cool. So Michelle adds a layer here and says, the site that she acquired and combined with her existing site was 2.5 years old and interlinking was highly relevant. So that's fantastic. All right, Stephen Shapiro says, what do I prefer, keeping a site or flipping the site, and why? Good question. It depends. I've kept sites for a long time. And for actually, if you look back on this channel, if you probably listened to some earlier podcasts, I probably said I prefer the cash flow so that there's always, revenue coming in versus selling it. And I thought, I don't want to get that huge, capital gain or anything like that. So I'd rather just have the ongoing cash flow. That's important to me. Same site that I was talking about, I eventually sold at some point in time. I have worked on sites where the intention of me partnering and me working on a team with someone was literally to work on the site and then sell it. So it depends on what I'm working on and why and what the goals are. And it varies. And for each person, it would vary for you as well. So for you, Stephen, what do you prefer to do? Would you rather keep it? Would you rather flip it? Now, I'll point out another kind of business model, and Adam Smith from Niche Website Builders, shout out to the sponsor of this segment. I interviewed him, so you can check out that full interview. He, to my knowledge, as far as I remember, I talked to a lot of people, but as far as I remember, he has never started a site from scratch. He has purchased sites that reach some level and people unload them. And the cool thing is Adam knows how to grow a site. So he can purchase a site that has sort of been validated. It's already earning some amount of money. And then he can do the things that he's skilled at, which is publishing content, getting backlinks, and that sort of thing to grow the site. And then he could sell it again. So for example, I'm going to make up numbers, but these are roughly in the right magnitude. Adam would purchase a site for $6,000. Something like that. It's making a few $100 a month, something like that. And then he would work on it for a while. He would add a lot of content. He would do a full technical audit, on-page SEO. He would also speed up the site and make sure it was architected in a way that was beneficial for SEO and go from there. A lot of times, if you know what you're doing, you can find something that is not optimized, optimize it, and then you add, many times more value. So then he's able to say, take a site that's making a few $100 per month and then get it up to $3,000, $4,000 per month in a relatively short amount of time, let's say 1 year. And then he can flip it from there. Let's say it's making $5,000 per month. He potentially can sell it for $150,000 or $200,000. So there's some business model where you can buy sites instead of starting them from scratch, and then you can sort of skip the sandbox period. You have a validated site, Google already likes it, and then you can apply your optimizations. Next. Okay, I'm certainly getting behind here. So Steven says, what's the average lifespan of affiliate sites before they get hit by an update or see a major decrease in rankings? That varies wildly. So you may see an algorithm update that impacts you in months, or you may never see it. Some people may say it's only a matter of time, but I'm pretty sure there's some sites that have been able to stay out of trouble just based on the kind of content they have, the traffic sources that they have, and a number of external variables. So there's no really good way to answer that. And if I made up some answer, the fact is I don't know the answer to that, and I don't think anyone really knows, because you could find examples of sites that didn't last long, and you could find sites that have lasted for many years. Amit says, what do you recommend for Alex Cooper's tutorials of best roof box or wheel along? I'm not sure what you mean. If you want to elaborate on that. Alex does a great job. I don't have any feedback for his tutorials. And to be honest with you, I don't, Alex is a friend of mine, and I don't watch a ton of his videos. I hop on for the live streams fairly often, but one thing that I'm aware of is that, like, if I watch a ton of his videos and we have a similar audience, like, it's really easy for us. And I don't know how Alex's watching habits are, but if I were to watch a bunch of videos for people in the same space as me, I could accidentally start just saying their ideas and me not realize that I'm taking other people's ideas. So I follow some other folks, but I'm not like watching this sort of content just because I'm also creating this kind of content. So number one, I'm not generally learning as much. I can always learn more. We can always learn more, but I'm generally not like, oh man, how are we going to do this thing? Kind of past that. And the other part is like, yeah, you don't want to copy people's ideas or anything like that. Okay. And shout out Charlie, Passive Priority. Go check out his stuff. I just published his blog post there over on Niche Site Project, nichesiteproject.com/blog. All right. Michael, what's up? Michael says, my bank refuses to withdraw my Amazon checks from Bank of America in Ireland. Have I ever heard of American bank issues with checks coming from Amazon Europe? No, I haven't, Michael. I am not aware of that. I haven't sought out that sort of thing, but I can tell you this is back in the day, I received some checks from international sources, and it was quite difficult for me to cash those checks. It was a little bit difficult. So definitely had to go around and find a bank that would work with me on it. And it costs more because they have to do extra processing and all that kind of stuff. Masher says, what are my thoughts on Commission Junction? It's fine. I haven't used it a ton. If there are products and or vendors or companies that you can work with that use Commission Junction, then go for it. It should be fine. Okay, now Med asked about what do I recommend from Alex's tutorials for best roof box or wheel along. So unfortunately, since I haven't watched them, I can't comment. So I would start, I'm not knowledgeable about the full catalog. There's probably like 30 something videos on there. So here's what I would do. I would start at the beginning and then kind of go through there. But I would also go over to Alex's live streams and ask him, hey, where should I start? Pretty sure he'll say the beginning too, because that starts you at the starting point. But, I would also point you towards, how am I not going to promote my own stuff here? I would point you towards my new Keyword Golden Ratio playlist, just to kind of give you a baseline on some keyword research ideas. David says, with all the content Gaurav has posted, did he do the keyword research or did he have the writers do it? I am not sure. I think he did the majority of the keyword research. I cannot remember. But I think that is one of the things that he enjoys doing, and I think he's very good at it. Paul commented to Michael that maybe a wire transfer can work. I don't know. Good question. Steven says, what's the average budget you'd start with while starting an Amazon affiliate site? I'll give you two quick options there. So if you're planning on doing the writing yourself and really keeping the costs as low as possible, I would budget roughly $300 to $500 for the first 6 months. Okay. So it's important to note, you're not going to spend all of that on day one. If you hear, $2,000, I would budget $2,000. That's assuming you have a budget of $2,000. And maybe it's a few $100s per month, right? That's still quite a bit of money, right? But over the course of a year, not all in one day. So if you're on a budget, I would say you probably need $300 to $500. You're going to get hosting. You're going to need potentially a premium theme. You don't have to use a premium theme, but it may be a good way to make sure you can customize the site visually in a way that you want to. But there are fast and free themes that you can use. Like I think Astra is pretty fast, and I believe GeneratePress. I think there's like a plain vanilla free version that you can use. And you'll probably need at least a couple months of keyword research tool access. A lot of times you can save money if you pay for a full year in advance, but if you're not going to use it for the full year, maybe you should just get it for a couple months. It depends. So that may cost you $30 to $50 per month, depending on what tool you use. It could be much cheaper than that too. So give yourself a few $100 and know that you won't have to come up with all that money on the first day. In fact, you can get hosting. That's your first cost. You probably get a domain name with that. You may not need to buy a theme until a little bit later on. You can use, like my first site was on WordPress 2012, and I use Arial font. It was a white background. It actually doesn't look too different from Niche Site Project. It's just like a classic style, jeans and a t-shirt. It's normal. Like you can pop in 2012 and you can be here in 2021 or 2030 and probably have a website with a white background and black text that's not too busy where you can read it. That's probably going to be fine if we still have websites in 2030. But jeans and a t-shirt, probably legit. Okay. Moving on here. Oh, Zeroth, good, or Zerototh. I don't know how to say that. It's an interesting name. So the question is, will audits become a trend among niche site owners, the OG niche site owners, decade-old sites that could be cluttered, perhaps something our favorite PMP to cover? Yeah, if you're doing things right, you were evaluating your content on a periodic basis, every 6 months, annually, something like that. So I'm in for kind of a lot of work. It's going to be a focus in February. You're tempted. I want to start something new. I want to do this new cool thing. I was chatting with my friend this morning, and we were like, we can maybe start a podcast. We can work together on this thing, and I'm gonna have to, pound some coffee, have some nootropics. Like I just got my box of formula. Are people People checked this out, find my formula. I'm a I'm an affiliate for them, so I gotta I gotta let you know. But I will probably be taking a lot of nootropics and drinking coffee and just hammering through the content. I will let you know that there's some wonderful, very thorough guides out there, and Hrefs blog has one of those, and they have a Google Sheets template that you can use that really takes the planning portion and streamlines it, kind of automates it. The thing you have to do is pull data from Google Analytics, and then you have to pull data from Hrefs or some way that you can identify what pages on your site have links. And you have to merge that data together. It's available. You can surely get it. You can get it. It's not extremely hard to get, but putting that data together is a little bit difficult, and I'm pretty good at Excel. I'm pretty good at spreadsheets, and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to pull all that data together in a way that it was usable. So check out the guide over on Hrefs. All right. And Steven says this, I'll always read compliments, of course. Your live streams actually give out more value than a lot of courses. Really appreciate the content. Yep. Really appreciate it. I try to answer questions, and only if I know the answer, and I'll happily just say, you know what, I don't know, or it's an impossible question to answer. So it's definitely easier than trying to BS your way out of it. Okay, passive priority says, if you build a new site and want to purchase links, what would be my typical link building plan, budget, and link amounts per month? So I am not sure exactly. I don't start enough new sites where I have like a specific plan in place. As far as like the budget and link amounts, ideally it's always unlimited, right? So you're always going to hit a point where you don't have the budget to do all the things you want to do. So that's going to be your limiting factor. So whatever your budget is for link building is what it is. I would encourage various like link building techniques. So I think, no matter what you're using, if you found a really effective guest posting method, which works, and you're getting good backlinks from sites that get traffic and they're related to your niche and all that stuff, I would still encourage, skyscraper techniques, shotgun skyscraper, where you're potentially reaching out to a lot of people trying to build links. I would also encourage you to try to get on different platforms. So when I was talking to Matt earlier, I mentioned, a link building technique. If you are a talker and you have a niche where you're into it and you're knowledgeable about it, be on podcast. You can be on a podcast. You can mention several different resources and then get links to those resources. You can get a link to your homepage. You get links to all your properties, right? People link to social, YouTube, Instagram, all the stuff in your homepage, plus whatever else you mentioned. So if you wanted to go that route, you could probably be on a ton of podcasts. Some niches don't have as many podcasts, but most of the time at this point, like there's a bunch of podcasts on any given topic. I looked the other day on like home brewing and beer podcast. I wish I would have started one in 2009. I remember in 2009, I was like, man, I should start a podcast on home brewing beer. There were a couple really good ones, maybe like 3 really good ones. And then there were like 5 terrible ones. And I'm like, I could do that. Talk into a microphone and get drunk. Like I could certainly do that. But I thought it was too saturated. I thought, well, there's already podcasters doing that stuff. Now there's like dozens of beer related podcasts. So I totally could have started one. My life would look totally different now. So, yeah, Charlie, I don't know. I don't know. What are you going to do? What's your tactic? All right. Tasso says how to take advantage of the increased commissions on Amazon UK, Canada, or Australia. So I have a kick-ass interview coming out in a couple weeks. I don't have my Trello board up, but there is a person named Nigel, and he started a site in like late 2019. He built some sites in the past. It's been a few years, so he was out of the game a little bit. And he's from the Netherlands. So he created a couple sites. He's focusing in Dutch and German. He knows a little German too. I took a cruise over in the Netherlands and Belgium, and Dutch people, they speak a lot of languages. It is intimidating. It's amazing. Better English than me, just amazing. So he has a couple sites, and the thing is, the Netherlands has a relatively new Amazon affiliate program, and just Amazon is new in general, I think, in the Netherlands. So the commission rates are like 10%. They're really high. And he made, I think it was like 14K like US dollars in December. His site is only just over a year old. I think it has something like, I don't have my notes around. I think it only has like 50 posts, something like that. So he's making a ton, and he's able to go to a smaller market. So how can you take advantage of commissions and other associates programs? Publish in the native language of whatever you're trying to take advantage of there, and then focus on the specific products, right? There are different products, different models available. So that's a key thing, and that's a little spoiler alert. Nigel mentioned that in the interview. So you can't just like take a site and say, all right, put it in a different language. The products could be totally different. You may not be able to get the same models. They may be called something different. Cheesecake says, which affiliate network has the best tracking in my experience and why? I don't know. I haven't tried enough networks to form like a big experience, but honestly, I'm not super concerned with the tracking. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but there's a lot of other things you can worry about. So most of the time, these companies have pretty robust tracking, and I haven't had any major issues. I think the worst would be like the self-managed WordPress plugins. I have one, and I won't mention it here because I'm going to trash it, but it's supposed to integrate with like all these other fucking pieces of software, but it's kind of a piece of shit. So I'm pretty sure they didn't test it with every piece of software. They maybe took a look at the API and they never tested it. So I've run into multiple issues where this affiliate software is supposed to work with other pieces of software, and they just don't integrate. So you end up with like a tech stack that is kind of patched together. So I can't tell you the best tracking, but I could tell you some of the worst is going to be on a self-managed situation. It's going to be mostly good most of the time, but if you're doing anything out of the ordinary, it's not going to be quite right. Robin says, how do you think I could monetize a website for healthcare issues in the UK? The National Health Service pays for much of it. For example, obesity, which is not your niche. I monetize a website for healthcare issues. I'm not 100% sure. I usually would stay away from those sort of things for Google algorithm updates and authority, and assuming all that's fine, we're not going to consider it. I'm a broken record probably. So I would look for digital products if possible. So if you could find software that somehow helps the person. So a lot of times that could be like a phone app in cases of health or exercise or related things like that. I don't know if there are courses available, but you may be able to figure out that angle. I'm not sure. And then otherwise, this is boring, but you have ads. So if you just have general traffic on your site, and potentially a lot of it, if it's about a health issue, that could be a pretty high amount of traffic. Display ads are probably going to be the best bet there. You might be able to partner with specific companies, right? So after you see who's running the ads on your site, reach out to them directly. Maybe they can get a better deal working with you directly and having a more effective marketing campaign, because maybe you can position it a little differently. It can be more of an integrated ad versus like a crappy video that's playing when a person doesn't want to see a video. So I would kind of start in that area. And then of course, any kind of affiliate products, physical products, if you can relate it to the health issue. All right, Thane, what's up? We got Vince too. What's going on? Oh, and Ahmed says, you hope that I gain millions of dollars. Thanks. All right. Paul says, how do you manage and organize your days and working hours? So I kind of have a loose, like bullet journal style often. And one thing that I do, I kind of bookend my week with 2 days where I blank out my schedule and no one can schedule anything with me on a Monday or a Friday. So automatically, that's good. That's a 4-day weekend. Now, I still get up and do stuff and do my normal thing, but basically, it's really nice to just have that in place. I usually have sort of a larger effort that I'm working on kind of each month. It's not necessarily a monthly theme. Sometimes it's a longer piece of work than that, and it's like a quarter. But I'll usually have sort of a focus because many of the things I'm working on are going to take a big chunk of time. So for example, let's use a real example to make it sort of easy. So I have this content audit stuff that I'm going to be working on. It's a big amount of work. I don't really have a strong handle on how much time it's going to take. So this is one of the things you have to deal with in project management, just in general. And you may not realize it, but you got to deal with it if you're not a project manager and you're trying to figure out what to work on, how long things take. So I can see that I'm just kind of going to make up numbers here, but these will be roughly the right range. I can see I have about, 350, 400 URLs on Niche Site Project. I can also see that maybe 100 of them just need to be deleted. And I can see probably another 100 of them are kind of okay. And then another 100 need to be either redirected or updated or changed. And then there's another set where I potentially need to review them too. So 2 of those sets, the ones that are okay and the ones I have to delete, those are pretty quick. I can do those quickly. The ones that are okay, obviously, I don't touch. The ones that I delete, I can process those in a very fast way. It's not going to take long. For those other 200 or so, I'm really not sure how long it's going to take. I bet some of them are going to take a couple hours. Some of them are going to be really quick. Some may take over a day. So what you'll have to do is just make an assumption and say, you know what, on average, it's going to take me 2 hours for those posts that require some attention. After maybe a week or so, I would have more data and I would see, oh, you know what? It's really taking me 45 minutes and it's not nearly as bad as I thought. In fact, I could kind of group these together and treat them the same way. So some of these are going to be really quick. So then my estimation of the work effort is going to get better as I do some of the work. So we have to make some assumption. Otherwise, you're just blindly trying to do something. And then once you get more data, real world data, you'll be able to do something with it and make your estimates a little better. Now, as far as managing and organizing my days, I am trying to do better with putting that terrible task that I've been putting off, something that is probably going to take me a little while. I've been working on taking like one big task per day. Now, on a day like today or yesterday, I did several interviews. I did a lot of talking and it takes a lot out of me. I can't do much else on those days. I could do some busy kind of BS like emails and some other dumb stuff, maybe some little tiny projects. But what I can't do is write a speech for like a talk that I'm going to be doing in a couple weeks here. So that's like the SEO Mastery Summit. So check it out. You'll probably hear more about it. I'll talk about it soon. But it's going to take me, a few hours to do that big chunk of work. And I know I need to write, 4,000 words or so. And that is the thing I struggle with, where I'm like, okay, this is going to take me a while. I shouldn't even try and work on it today because I got a few other things, and I never kind of switch into that gear where I'm like, okay, I'm going to write 3 or 4,000 words. And I know, because of my working style, that there's a strong chance it's going to take me 45 minutes to get into the mood to actually do that writing. So I might need like 3-4 hours to do that. So in that case, I really try to ignore the kind of noise that's out there. I try to stay out of my inbox. It's very easy to hop into your inbox, at least for me. Forget what you're looking for, see another exciting email, end up doing something that is completely unrelated to the task that you're actually trying to complete. So I need to pause my inbox a little more often, but that's kind of the idea. On the weeks that I'm like doing sort of a bigger amount of work, there may be days where I'm doing 6 or 8 hours of, time here at the desk. I try to go outside and spend a lot of time outside. For my more casual days where I'm like good for the week, I've done a couple big things, some of those big tasks that I potentially can put off and I put to the next day or the next week. If things are going pretty good, I may just do like 2 hours. I may hop in, kind of just mess around, shoot some emails, chat with some of my friends, answer a couple comments on YouTube and that sort of thing. So fairly casual. And on those days, I may try to go on a hike, or I've been heading over to a state park that's nearby. I got this new lens. I'll hold it up in a second. It's like a 300 f4 Canon L lens. So it's potentially like 20 years old, but there's some pretty nice raptors. There's eagles and osprey and hawks that hang out close by. So I may just head over there and hang out and walk around outside and have some fun, So pretty luxurious, and I realize how lucky it is for me to be able to do that. All right, next we got Charlie says, for a backlinking plan, I'm thinking $800 a month, 10 high quality niche edits. Still want the majority of the budget to be spent on content, but if I find link opportunities, I'll do it. Yeah, that's probably like a good, I like the blend. So I know part of it's me, right? Part of it is me talking about publishing a lot of content, but I think it's important to get some backlinks. Like, they can come naturally, and Matt and I were debating this earlier, and I like to give it a little push. I like to do a little proactive link building and outreach. And Matt was saying, yeah, you know what? I mean, I would just take the natural links because, I just never do link building. And, he said during our conversation, he's like, yeah, it may take a couple years, it may take a few years to get those links. Now, the good part is if you're going after super long tails, people will link to you because you have an obscure thing that they're trying to reference. So you may be able to get those links a little more readily. But yeah, if you don't do anything and you don't do any promotion, then it's going to take longer. Now, one thing you could do, right? So let's say I'm an internet marketer and I want to get some backlinks to my site. I may be able to go speak at a conference, but you know what? Forget if I'm not an internet marketer. There's conferences on all sorts of topics, and there's online summits. So if you can talk, if you are knowledgeable about the thing, you can try to get out there in front of people. And at that point, other people are going to see that you're into that topic, potentially link to your site. Of course, you'll probably get a link from the organization site in some capacity. And the other thing, going one step further, if you're presenting material, you are in kind of a different social circle. So you can reach out to the other people that are presenting and say, hey, we're presenting at the same thing, would love to collaborate somehow. The door is open. All you have to do is go out there and ask most of the time. So, all right. Someone else is asking about the person's niche. So I would say, we don't reveal the niche to protect your site. Oh, Robin, shout out to Robin, who has sent me a super sticker. So I'll have to look. It's funny. It describes what it is. Lemon character lifting baby lemon into the air. Let's take a look at that. On the little chat thing, I don't see it. So let's see what we got. All right. Any other questions? We've been rambling on, and definitely a shout out to Niche Website Builders for sponsoring the Q&A segment here. So yeah, any other questions out there, folks? All right, Palab says, can we use Amazon product images or videos in YouTube videos or a blog post to make a featured image highlighting images to promote the product without any issues? So you can't use the images for blog posts. You probably can't use the videos and just take them unless there's some mechanism where you can embed them. So you can't take the images, that violates the operating agreement. For the video and YouTube videos, I think the technical answer is no, you can't do that. However, in practice, in videos that I watched today, in videos that I watched yesterday, basically you will see people go over to Amazon, show the screen sharing, and consult your lawyer, which we don't have lawyers, right? So we're not going to do that, but consult your lawyer. Consult a professional. But basically, you probably have a strong case for what's called, what is it called? Fair use. You probably have a case for fair use. Now, the thing is, even if you could use that video, maybe use the screenshot, maybe you can screen share the Amazon product detail page, and technically you're not violating any copyright things because you're creating a unique video, you're adding your own commentary on top of it, there's multiple sources, all the things with fair use. Go read about it if you don't know what I'm talking about. And basically, even if you're not violating their copyrights, Amazon potentially could still kick you out of the program. Again, I've seen videos like in the last day where huge YouTubers do show like, hey, here's this product on Amazon, blah, blah, blah. Chances are Amazon's probably not going to do anything, but technically if they investigated it and they were like, oh, you know what, you're using our images in an improper way, they could probably kick you out. So read the operating agreement about image usage and proper image usage. It is a little wordy. There's some, legal mumbo jumbo, but you should be able to figure out the gist of it. All right. Suri says, when will the replay be posted? Immediately afterwards. So one of the cool things with the YouTube live streams here is it automatically it's captured up there in the cloud, and then minutes after we finish here, you'll be able to stream it. So you can watch the whole thing, watch the interview from the beginning. And I think we're going to wrap up here. So cleaning things, what's up? You're asking if you could write for me. No thanks, appreciate you asking. You also say, is there a WordPress plugin that you could track all your affiliate links even if it's not from Amazon? So check out Lasso. I'm an affiliate for Lasso, but they have a lot of sort of rich analytics that you can keep track of. For free, you can use something like PrettyLink. You're not going to get the same kind of robust functionality, but you can create You can create like, shit, I got a cough here. It's just from talking so much. I actually feel great with no alcohol in my system for 20 days. I mean, I just feel great. Feel great out here. All right. So yeah, with Pretty Links, you can do some light tracking. I use Pretty Links all the time. Like a lot of the links you see in the show notes here in the description of this YouTube video, those are Pretty Links. All right. Cool. Thanks everybody. We got Robin. Thanks again for the super chat, the super sticker. And oh yeah, Cooper, what's up? Okay, Cooper, are you from Colorado? How do you know Melanzana? So Cooper says, I always love seeing you wearing your Melanzana. When did I get it? We went to Leadville in September. In fact, I have like vlog footage that I recorded that I haven't kind of pulled together. I haven't mastered the vlogging stuff because like I'm doing stuff all the time, but I really like doing stuff. And when you vlog it, you're trying to record all the time, it really like pulls you out of like the shit that you're doing. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it's definitely a skill and I'm trying to get better at it. So we went to Leadville. Melanzana was not on our radar, but it was a company that I'd heard of because I went to Leadville when it was in 2003, something like that. And I think Melanzana was already running. I can't remember. I didn't really pay much attention. I mean, Leadville was kind of off the map at that point, but I've mentioned it to people recently and they're like, oh yeah, Leadville, I've heard of it. It's so awesome. I need to go over there and check it out. So Melanzana, for the people that don't know, I don't have my Melly in here right now, but it's like a couple dudes who wanted to create like handmade, high quality, American made, American sourced outdoor clothing. So they made hoodies and I've never paid much attention. And we were in Leadville for a few days. Got a nice Airbnb right off the main street there. It's an old mountain town. Very interesting history. There's a lot of old buildings, ones that didn't burn down, but it's an old mining town. Like there's a ton of them out in the Rockies and the Mountain West and that sort of thing. So we were in Leadville. We're hanging out. We'd see a line of people every single day. And we're like, what is that? And I'm like, oh yeah, I think there's some clothing brand or whatever. We looked it up and then we didn't have a ton of plans. We were really just relaxing. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go out there one day and I'm going to stand in line. I'm going to see what they have. The thing is, they're not super expensive. They're very, very like reasonably priced. And the thing is, you can't order them online. You can't get them in a retail shop. You have to get them there. So you have to stand in line. And they're only open from like, I think it's 1 to 5 or 6. And they may even close a little early. I'm not sure if they have a quota per day. And I believe I've read that they've tried to sell online, but they kind of ran into some tech issues and they're just doing like what they're trying to do. They're not trying to grow like super huge. They're growing in a very small, sustainable way. And they have like local people working for them. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. So they're tough to get. And when we got in there, I got 2. I got like sort of like the standard weight. And then I got like a thicker weight. So I wear those all the time, man. And David's out of here. See you later. And then my wife got like a normal hoodie and she got a skirt too. And we're like, we love them more than we thought. And yeah, when people recognize them, it's like, hey, like, are you from Colorado or Melanzana, blah, blah, blah. In fact, like the last road trip we were on in the hotel lobby, some lady was like, hey, are you from Colorado? Blah, blah. Actually, that's the thing I just said. So Cooper says, you work at REI, so it's pretty common in the hiking community, and you got your first 2 from the summer lottery, but you definitely want to go visit, and you're wearing yours now. Right on. It's a cool product and like a cool company. And like I said, it's not crazy expensive. So it's kind of amazing because I was like, oh, I wonder if I could like sew one myself. It's a pretty simple pattern, you know? Of course, I don't know how to sew or anything. So that would be a whole other thing to get into. But when I looked at like buying the materials and stuff, it's basically easier and cheaper. I mean, that's not the point of making your own clothes, but basically just buy from Melanzana. And it sounds like, Cooper, you were able to get it from a lottery. So I guess there was some situation where they were able to make sure that like the people they were selling it to weren't just like throwing them on eBay and like reselling them or some kind of nonsense like that. So pretty fun. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for joining in. If you are new to the channel or anything like that, or if you're not on the email list, go to nichesiteproject.com. Click the green button. You'll be able to sign up for the email list there. I'll send you all my templates, including the KGR template. And Rashid, last question in here. Does the KGR still work? The answer is yes. Check out my latest published interview that came out on Monday. Gaurav used the KGR very recently. So his results are from the last month. KGR works great, still works great. Everybody have a great day. See you next week.